My first love was really Filipino cuisine. I learned at an early age how to cook Filipino dishes. It kind of stuck with me up to now.
I think I had an innate love for food. I had always been adventurous and very curious about it. I would eat almost everything and anything up until now.
We met in college. It was, I think, by fate that we got together because we were blockmates in freshmen, and I had no idea that she loved baking and doing desserts, and she didn't know that I actually cooked as well. So we became really good friends, and then I kind of wanted just more than just friends. We became closer and closer until we became girlfriend and boyfriend. But that's when I realized that, wow, you actually bake. I went to the US to go to culinary school because at that time, during the 90s, there weren't so much culinary schools here. I worked in New York, I worked in France, and I also worked in Australia. So I went around. Eventually, I decided to go back here, and we decided to put up our own catering business. That's how we started. We would cook for small private parties, and we even went to the point that we entertained guests where we stayed in our own home. It was quite a novel idea that you would eat in the chef's house, which became really popular. Eventually, we put up our own restaurant. The first restaurant we did was a fine dining Filipino restaurant. It was called Chef Laudico Bistro Filipino. It was funny and ironic because the first 2 years, the people who ate in our restaurants are mostly foreigners, expats, business tycoons. They couldn't believe that the Filipino food that we were doing very accessible to them, because they say if they eat somewhere else, they didn't like it because it was too sweet, it was too oily, it was really not appetizing. And they asked me, how come your food was different? Actually, our food is really nothing different. It's just we did everything from scratch. For example, our kare-kare, we didn't shortcut anything. We didn't put peanut butter. We really toast the nuts, grind the nuts. We do our stocks, chicken, beef, pork, fish stock from scratch. We don't use any MSG or bouillon or any magic stuff. Everything was natural. The only thing that we changed a bit was how we presented it. The most important thing is sticking to the traditional taste and flavor of the dish, because at the end of the day, you can use whatever equipment, you can use whatever technique. A cuisine is defined by its flavor. You can do whatever you want as long as the flavor is there, the traditional flavors, and you have to stay true to the ingredients. If it's kare-kare, it has to taste like kare-kare. It can look like a totally, un-kare-kare looking dish, but it has to still taste like kare-kare. And that's what one of our styles in Bistro Filipino, which kind of made a name for us. And up to now, even here in Chef Laudico Guevarra's, we're doing Filipino food, traditional and modern as well. We have all the main course dishes. Our signature dishes here is of course the kare-kare. And then since it's Sinulog festival time, we also have dishes that's from Cebu. Like we have the pork humba, we have the balbakwa, and we have like the adobo, Cebu style adobo. This is my favorite, the balbakwa. It's very rich. It's similar to the kare-kare, but it's spicy. It's spicier and has a lot of ginger flavor. And then over here, we have all the hot and cold appetizers. And of course, as you see here, this is all Chef Jackie's desserts. There's kakanins. This is one of her signature dessert, which is the suman cake, because it's suman or bicho that's layered with coconut panna cotta. Yeah.
Popular area. It's the grill and roast station. Here we have our signature Angus tapa.
Yes, which is grilled.
We grill it.
Smoky Angus tapa. It's really a different kind of tapa, but people really go crazy about our tapa. And of course, we have the roast beef. We have the spicy bellichon. We also have lechon as well. We do our lechon in-house. So as you can see, it's really quite busy here. We have beverages and of course our Halo Halo station. This whole buffet is jam-packed with a lot of your favorite stuff, and every time we put new dishes as well, so you won't get tired of eating here in Chef Laudico Guevarra's. There are many versions of roast pork in the world, but as Anthony Bourdain put it, there's nothing that can beat our lechon, and I would agree with that, because the way we do our lechon is so flavorful, and the skin is just crispy, and then succulent meat, and then the charcoal smokiness of the lechon. It's totally, I think, if there's a dish that we can be super proud of, it's really our lechon. Dishes that's very easy to prepare anywhere in the world, like adobo, because basically the ingredients you use for adobo you can find anywhere in the planet. The vinegar is basically the most important part of adobo. And for me, if you use just white vinegar, that's a waste of adobo cooking time. We have literally hundreds of fantastic vinegars. I think we are the vinegar capital of the world. And our vinegars is so awesome that, if you use coconut vinegar or sugarcane vinegar in your adobo, it will make a whole lot of difference. That alone would make your adobo stand out, just the type of vinegar you use. Our food from the start has so much potential, because if you think about it, it's a mixture of Western and Eastern influence. There's only a few cuisines in the world that has the best of both worlds with regards to influence. We are very heavy Southeast Asian, Malay, Chinese influence, and then we have this other side which is heavy with the European, Spanish, American. There's so much influence going on with our food, with all these foreigners and even like big time chefs like Anthony Bourdain, Zimmerman, like saying so many wonderful things about Filipino food. And they're like, wow, how come it's just now that we're tasting all of this Filipino food, nice Filipino food. So now we're like, wow, if they like our food, why can't we like our own food? Diba? Or be proud of our own food. I think that's the mentality of it all changed na. And I think now we're more, pro-Filipino na. And we're not anymore ashamed of our own cuisine and culture. I think that's the reason why a lot of chefs are investing their time developing Filipino cuisine.
It's about time. That's our reaction. It's about time. We've loved this cuisine ever since we've put our money where our heart and our mouth is. That's the most important thing. You can't just declare and do it sometimes. You need to dive into it. You need to wholeheartedly, lifetime dive into it. If you want an advocacy, if you are really passionate about it, then do it as a business. Risk yourself. We've put our names in spite of his international training, my international training background. We chose to do Filipino food as our first restaurant. Our cuisine has a lot of potential. We have very simply cooked meals like the inasals, the grills, with just the very light salsas, our own version, and some dips and salads made from seaweed. And we also have the complicated things that takes hours to make, like the European stuff, like the kare-kare, the calderetas.
Yeah.
So those things, I think the whole world will be very happy to experience our food, especially that Filipinos are one of the most hospitable people in the world, and food is really very important with us. And how we traveled and lived and adapted ourselves in different countries, but still retained our own culture when it comes to food and family and celebrations. We are very good ambassadors. Each and every person living abroad is an ambassador. And now that we are, the pride of being a Filipino is heightened because it's more out in the media, I think that is all very good for Filipino cuisine.